Hi, Roy here, and welcome again to another edition of the Right Has Left podcast. I am your host, Roy Garton, and we always try to tape these podcasts as late as possible toward the end of the week so we can have for you all the late breaking news. And boy, do we have a lot of late breaking news. So let's just go right ahead and get into it with our top story. And of course, our top story is going to be the Iran conflict. And as you are well aware of, due to late breaking news, we have just been informed that the Iran conflict may be just coming to an end. At least we sure hope it is. And that is because the fact of the matter is that Donald Trump has announced that the Strait of Hormuz is going to be open. And that is because of the recent ongoing peace talks that they have been trying to get accomplished. And of course, they may have another peace talk happening this weekend, according to Donald Trump, if you can believe that. I mean, all of this stuff has just been coming out so quickly and rapidly that they really can't get a pinpoint on what is really going to be so much tied to the Strait of Hormuz remaining open. But we can give you what we do know so far, and that is Iran's foreign minister did declare that the Strait of Hormuz, open to all commercial ships during the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, will be open. Now, they are going to be open on a proposed route as by Iran. And here is the latest information that we have on this graphic, where the ships are going to be able to get through the Strait of Hormuz. And as you can see by the proposed routes, it is supposed to work. Of course, Donald Trump, he got all excited and called it the Strait of Iran instead of the Strait of Hormuz when he first released the news. He forgot exactly where the oil tankers were supposed to be going. But here's why this has been going on and what has happened so far. And what we believe, according to sources, what is making this deal all come to pass. And that is because of the fact of the matter is that Donald Trump says that the deal is going to be consummated by the simple fact that if they release all of the frozen assets to Iran, they in turn will give all of the powder and the uranium that they have left back to the U.S. so the U.S. can get rid of it. And if they do all of that, then this war supposedly may just come to an end. At least that's what Donald Trump has been saying. Of course, he kind of changes his tune about every 15 minutes when the press talk to him. So we'll have to see what exactly will be going on with all of this. Like I said, it's breaking, and all these stories are just popping just left and right, so it's kind of hard to really stay up with what's really going on. So Trump thanked Iran for opening up the strait, but said the United States blockade of Iran's port routes will still remain in effect with the ships, and that is because of these particular factors. Now, according to the BBC, so far, none of the ships have been getting through. But since the blockade has been put into place, the United States is supposed to take control of exactly how many ships go through and to avoid Iran's most northern ports. Now, since the blockade has been put into place, as you can see by this graphic, because it's dated back to April 5th, this is how many ships actually have been getting through, if at all. Now, with the straits opening up, of course, most of this oil goes to Europe, not to the United States, but it still has an effect on United States gas prices. So, although 20% of the world's traffic of oil goes through the Straits of Hormuz, it's all basically supposed to go towards China and Europe. So so the European nations have a very vested interest in what's going on here. And again, you really can't blame the European people for all of that, because they need the oil, and of course it affects jet prices and everything else that has been going on. Getting back to this blockade, though, and getting back to the straits actually being opened up, Iranian media affiliated with the Revolutionary Guard describe a limited reopening of the strait. And again, you saw from the previous graphic why they call it a limited situation. Donald Trump has said it's a full opening. Iran has said not quite, but here's what we're going to do for you. And again, let me get back to this particular graphic on the proposed route, so you can see why what Donald Trump is saying and what Iran is saying is kind of two different things. Trump got all excited, as I mentioned, and of course he called it the Strait of Iran, but he did say there's possible going to be more some peace talks this coming weekend, and it's going to get all wrapped up, and the war possibly could come to an end in a couple of days. But, we've heard Trump say that how many times, and he says, well, maybe a little bit longer. But right now he's saying it can all come to an end by Monday if everything falls into place. Like I said, although they're not talking about it, according to reliable sources, the war can come to an end if Iran gets all of their assets that has been frozen by the United States and other countries, including billions of dollars, and they in turn get what uranium they got left back to the United States, and they promise not to make any more nuclear weapons and not get a hold of any more uranium. They get all their billions of dollars back, and that will bring the war to a close, according to many sources. And again, also Donald Trump is not really talking about saying that that money that is actually involved, because he said there's no cash involved. But media sources says, well, maybe not directly, but if you're going to unfreeze their assets, they'll be getting their money back. So this all came apart because of the ceasefire in Lebanon, as you know, between Israel and Lebanon. Once that ceasefire was in place, Iran began to start agreeing to some things, because that was the big sticking point. Now, how long Israel will keep the ceasefire in place between Lebanon that's to be seen. This is all coming together, but remember, we only have about a 10-day ceasefire that has been put into place, and that is coming to an end very quickly this coming week. So this is why all of this stuff's got to get done, and it's got to get done in a hurry if we are going to bring it into this. So, like I said, Trump says the Strait of Hormuz is completely open. The BBC is reporting yet no ships have actually been getting through, and the United States still continues to blockade the Strait of Hormuz with our ships. So, because they don't trust anybody, and you really can't blame them. Iran doesn't trust us either. So, we'll have to see how far this thing really goes. But that's kind of like been exciting news, isn't it? And I think that for what it's worth, there's a lot of sticking points still in place, but something is better than nothing. And again, for all of you who are saying, well, gas prices are going to really drop, well, they have come down a few cents, but don't expect the old $2.89 a gallon that we have been used to seeing before all this crap started, because you've got a lot of oil rigs, you've got a lot of gas processing plants still offline. They will be, and even if this war was to end tomorrow, it's going to take them at least 2 years to get the infrastructure back into place. And gas prices may come down, but they're not going to come down to the $2.89 a gallon that you and I are used to been seeing before all of this military action started taking place. But remember, the U.S. started this, not Iran. We started it, and we are trying to finish it. And Pete Higgs has been trying to be all of this in the name of religion and God, and I'm getting into that too a little bit here, but when at the end of my podcast, be talking about that just a little bit. So hopefully, like I said, things are going to be getting done here, and because ending the fighting that was ongoing between Israel and the Tehran-backed militant group Hezbollah, the group Hezbollah has not been, they've been quiet about all of this on the ceasefire. They haven't said anything, but we'll see what happens. Again, the military said it has turned back over 13 ships since they have been launching their blockade of the Iranian ports, and they will continue to be staying there. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth warned Iran, we're watching you, and he said the U.S. was locked and loaded and renewed for combat if Iran didn't agree to the peace deal. So if nothing happens in this 10 days, Trump and Pete Hegseth and our military is ready to go back and start bombing again. So hopefully, like I said, we'll have this ongoing peace talk. But again, that $20 billion that the United States currently has frozen is supposed to be released if this deal is signed, if Iran gives up the uranium. And so they'll get their $20 billion back, according to sources. Trump's not saying that. He said no money is, again, as I just repeated myself, I understand that, but you need to fully understand what's really going on behind the scenes here. So is it cash for play? And we'll see. So good news, I guess, if you really want to call it that. Now, moving on to other news, which is kind of important here. Vice President J.D. Vance was accused Iran of economic terrorism by essentially closing the Strait of Hormuz. That's what he said. He defended the United States blockade of Iranian ports, which started over 30 hours ago, with President Donald Trump threatening Iranian ships as an equal response. And so this is, again, going on with further news about, and as you've been following this along too, the Donald Trump and the Pope spat. That's something that has been going on that is, again, just absolutely horrendous. If you have been following the news, Donald Trump says he has the right to say what he wants to say about the Pope, and the Pope has been very, very graciously dealing with how Donald Trump has been talking about him. As you're well aware of, the Pope isn't an American. He's from Illinois, and that guy can, talk with the best of them. So the feud between him and how Trump is using religion to justify the Israeli part of our partnership and this war is just crazy. And it's going to cost Trump some votes, because when you start upsetting the Catholics, which is a huge voting base, you're going to have problems. So we hope this all gets, like I said, worked out. The global economy faces a very major test from all of this, and even though the stock markets are bouncing back from the good news, how long it'll stay is to be seen, because the fact of the matter is just Trump just opening his mouth this morning, oil prices dropped a few cents, and the stock markets rallied back because they think it's all great. Now, another sticking point about this, of course, is China. Beijing issued the most forceful criticism yet of the United States, calling the blockade dangerous and irresponsible. President Xi Jinping said that the world must not be allowed to revert back to the law of the jungle. And and the other thing that's, sad about all this is, so far, over 3,000 people have been killed in the country since the United States artillery strikes began clear back on February 28th. More than 2,100 people have been killed in Lebanon, 32 have been killed in the Gulf states, and 23 have died in Israel. 13 U.S. service members have been killed, and 2 more have died on non-combat causes. So this is these numbers, as I just told you, is sad. And like I said, we started the escalation, not Iran, and Israel, of course, started a lot of it, and when they started getting involved with Lebanon, and of course they've been helping us bomb Iran. So there you go. Some other things that have been going on that you probably may or may not have been aware of is the extension of the FISA Section 702 Foreign Intelligence Program. Now, that is, if you haven't been following, that allows the United States to use eavesdropping techniques on foreign adversaries. But what has been uncovered is they also use it on American citizens, especially if American citizens go overseas. And it's been a very hot point and a very touch situation as far as exactly who are they using these surveillances on. And have you just heard the breaking news? Congress, the congressional delegation, Congress itself. We've got the Senate, and then we've got the other part, Congress, and they passed the part, but the Senate refused to endorse it. So they want an 18-month extension of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, Section 702. Before it expires on April 20th. Despite past opposition, Trump argues the surveillance tool is vital for national security, specifically citing its role in recent military actions against Iran and Venezuela. He has called on Congress to support the continuation of Section 702, which permits federal agencies to use surveillance for intelligence targets, arguing it helps protect U.S. troops and diplomats. Clean extension, he has advocated for a clean extension, meaning he is pushing for renewal without additional limitations. In other words, he wants to use it for as long as he sees fit. And the Senate doesn't like it. And so far, they've killed it. And he's gotten pissed off and called the senators that have voted against it and told them, threatened them, and said that if we don't pass this, some things are going to happen, and you need to take care of this right away. And he's posted on his Truth Social that he supports this renewal based on his confidence in current reforms through the holds the lingering concerns about potential political abuse. And like I said, Congress put it together and got their portion of the bill passed, but the Senate killed it. And Mike Johnson and other lawmakers tried to get the extension passed through the House, but there is a lot of still bipartisan criticism, both on the Democrats as well as the Republican side in the Senate. So there's a lot of resistance on that. So, again, some lawmakers said that there should be a warrant put in place before they use Section 702. Donald Trump doesn't want a warrant. He wants to use it however he wants to. And we'll have to see what happens there. Now, another thing in the news that has been going on, and there's been a lot of memes put out about this, is this particular AI-generated photograph of Donald Trump as he says, as a doctor helping people. But everybody knows that he was calling himself Jesus, and he was the one healing the people. He did it because he was trying to make fun of the Pope. He was pissed off. Now, let's go back to, the Pope, Pope Leo here, and talk about this particular subject really quick before I move on to other things going on here. As I stated, Pope Leo has been, generating and talking about peace in the Middle East, which we may get here shortly. And from a religious point of view, that was what it's all about, is peace. Jesus spoke of peace. As you're well aware of, Pete Hegseth and the president have been trying to use religion as a justification for going to war with people. Pope Leo doesn't see it that way. So, and they've been going back and forth. And of course, Donald Trump took down that particular photograph that I just showed here, portraying himself as a doctor, and he continued to have exchange of war words with the Pope. And this picture, of course, backfired on Donald Trump. He got a lot of criticism about it, so that's why he took it down. And then when the press talked to him about it, he said, well, I was actually trying to show myself as a physician, supporting the Red Cross and their ability to, help people. And if you folks, and a lot of you I know do get on TikTok or Instagram, you've seen all the people having fun with the various variations of this picture. I found it kind of funny. But, again, you don't take on the Pope. The Pope's going to win the battle every time. And you don't want to piss off the Catholics. They are a strong voting bloc for the Republicans, and if you piss off the Catholics, then you're going to be in trouble. J.D. Vance himself is a Catholic, and he just said, well, yeah, Donald Trump's just having a little fun there. Well, why are you taking this so seriously? It's it's not sacrilegious, which a lot of people said it was. But Trump says, I'm not saying I was Jesus. I'm a Red Cross worker here. What's the big deal here? So anyway, before I go on about that, you really need to see the clip about this and what Trump really said. Watch this.
Did you post that picture of yourself depicted as Jesus Christ?
Well, it wasn't depicted. It was me. I did post it, and I thought it was me as a doctor, and had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support. And only the fake news could come up with that one. So I just heard about it, and I said, how did they come up with that? It's supposed to be me as a doctor making people better, and I do make.
And of course, Donald Trump went on to say, they're not getting what they voted for to begin with. On top of that, he says whether he's mocking the religion intentionally or not, he still is. Said Eric Erickson, a conservative radio host and an influential voice with the evangelical voters, central to the MAGA base. He says, I think we're not really at a MAGA crack-up per se, but a lot of the base is very upset about how Donald Trump took this to the public, portraying himself as Jesus Christ. And he says this was going a little bit too far. And so were a lot of other Republicans saying that. In case you're wondering, is Trump religious? He says he is. He said he used to be a Presbyterian, but he's now a non-denominational evangelical. That's what he said. And he won 59% of the Catholic vote in 2024, up 50% from 2016. Now, former President Joe Biden, the second Catholic president, won the voting bloc with 52% in 2020, according to some exit polling done by CNN. You peel off certain Catholic demographics, and maybe you win a few House seats, said Michael Capito, a longtime Trump advisor and former administration official, now pursuing a master's in theology at Ave Maria, a Catholic enclave in Florida. The Democrats found that the Catholic door to the division they need before the midterms, and after meeting Obama's top advisors, the Pope helped them turn the handle, he added, pointing to former Obama advisor David Axelrod's recent meeting with the Pope as evidence the strategy is already underway. So, again, you don't want to upset the Catholics, which Donald Trump was very good at doing and has done, and you can't recover from that. I don't care if you can apologize, say it was something else. It's just not going to go away. You just gotta understand. That meme by Donald Trump was ridiculous, and if you think that is something, he just goes right on screwing things up with this. And that was this publicity stunt with this elderly lady, Julian Crawley, who had to come back and, fix all of this and actually tell everybody that it was a publicity stunt with DoorDash. Julian Crawley is the spokesperson for DoorDash, and that was because of this lady that you see next to Donald Trump doing the DoorDash thing with the McDonald's bag. Oh, my God, what a heck of a mess that was. So she said that, she had to get online and push back. They were trying to keep it a secret, but so much crap was coming about how Donald Trump was abusing, not physically, of course, but abusing how the elderly people have to DoorDash to make ends meet. And, and then everybody was upset and cutting down DoorDash. So Julian Crowley had to actually come out and say, okay, hold on. Okay, yeah, it was a publicity stunt. It was a photo op, and let us explain. And so when that came out of there, they finally got to the bottom of what really was happening. And so the delivery, if you missed it, which featured the DoorDash driver Sharon Simmons arriving at the White House. She's wearing that DoorDash grandma t-shirt, which you just saw, and took place during a televised press event involving Donald Trump, and he was designed to promote a proposed no tax on tips policy, which he, of course, he's taking to Las Vegas. In case you missed it, here it is. Watch this clip.
McDonald's.
Well, nice to see you.
Nice to meet you. I have your DoorDash order for you, Mr. President.
That's very nice. Look at this. This doesn't look staged, does it?
They're all your favorites.
That's right. These are good. DoorDash is doing a good job.
We try.
The reason for this is the fact that I heard you picked up an extra $11,000 that you didn't think because the tax bill was so big, the refund was the biggest you've ever had. Is that a correct statement?
It definitely was.
Well,
Yeah, I saved over $11,000 by not having to claim.
was that surprising to you, actually?
It was very surprising. Very
It's a
surprising.
great big beautiful bill. And that doesn't include overtime in your case. This is only just based on what we did in terms of every other aspect of the tax bill, right?
Yes, sir.
So it was 11,000 saving.
Yes, sir.
Isn't that incredible? And that's what it is, the tax cut. It's really, we call it the great big beautiful bill. We should call it the great big beautiful tax cut bill because it's a tremendous amount of money.
I'll do whatever you ask me to do, sir.
So the no tax on tips is something special, right?
It's very special.
And that's the one that really pertains to you more than anything else.
Yes, sir. Yes.
It's fantastic. It's such an honor to meet you. And I think you voted for me, do you think?
Maybe.
Yeah? I heard you're a great supporter. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll put this over here. And why don't we have a news conference with the president?
Okay.
Want to do it?
Sure.
You don't have to say too much. I think they're looking about Hormuz Strait and various other things. Do you have any questions? We're talking about with respect to all of the things that they put against it.
Things have you delivered to the White House before?
I have not. My name is Sharon Simmons.
And are the White House good tippers? Do you know?
Wait.
Potentially. Yes, very.
Mr. President, can I ask you something?
That's good. Thank you. You reminded me.
Mr. President.
But as you are well aware, the moment quickly sparked backlash online with users accusing the Trump administration and DoorDash staging a publicity stunt, which it was. And of course, he tipped the lady a $100 bill. On top of all that, I wonder if he took that back from her as well. But again, between the Jesus Christ meme or Red Cross worker, whoever you want to call it, and this thing with DoorDash, oh my God, you begin to wonder, like, what the heck's going on with this guy? So, it never ends, does it, with Donald Trump? And again, and of course, the Strait of the Strait of Hormuz, whatever you want to call that too. So, those are just three things that he has kind of confused about here recently. So, we'll see what happens, right? Right. All right, moving on another news. Of course, is with Eric Stilwell and Tony Gonzalez. Both have resigned from Congress this past Tuesday, moments before their House colleagues were prepared to set in motion their swift removal due to some things have been going on with these two guys. The Democrat and Republican escaped the almost certain public embarrassment of an expulsion vote on the House floor by resigning. But while they narrowly avoided the most severe consequences possible for a member of Congress, they are still exiting their positions on Capitol Hill, engulfed in separate scandals resulting from high-profile political free falls. Now, the pair of resignations, the intentions of which were announced in quick succession Monday night, amounts to a stunning moment in the United States House of Representatives, where pressure from members on both sides of the aisle for accountability had made the environment for the lawmakers to stay in Congress essentially unbearable. Now, the departures of Eric Stilwell and Tony Gonzalez have shifted focus to other members facing serious allegations. And if you're wondering who those two are, it's these two people right here. And that, of course, is Corey Mills. He's under investigation for alleged campaign finance violations and sexual misconduct, while Democrat Sheila Sheriff McCormick faces substantiated ethics findings and federal charges over misuse of pandemic relief funds. Now, both of these people, just so you know, are from the state of Florida, right here where this podcast originates. Now, lawmakers like Anna Paulina Luna and Teresa Ledger Fernandez have signaled readiness to pursue expulsion if warranted, underscoring a willingness to act across party lines. If you're not only breaking the law, then you need to go. I think the threshold will be met on this particular situation. Now, let's back up here. The previous two were removed from Congress, or they actually resigned, because of the fact of the matter is they were both up on sexual advances to subordinates and other people, and they denied it, although it's been pretty much coming out, especially with the female victims following civil lawsuits and perhaps criminal lawsuits, so they had to walk away and resign. from all this mess, Corey Mills may come out of this okay, because his allegations aren't quite as criminal as the other three. So, and although I think he should resign too, the Republicans are trying to hang on to their very, very thin majority that they have in Congress, and the House of Representatives needs Corey Mills. And since the Republicans control the House right now, they may try to save his hind end and keep him in office. And Corey Mills says, you shouldn't, group me into all these other people because my situation's a little bit different. So, he's trying to beg for his seat to remain there. So if he stays in the House of Representatives, as I talked about earlier, the House of Representatives barely got this 702 bill put together and passed, even though the Senate's going to reject it. But it just squeaked by a couple of votes. And so the Republicans need Corey Mills, and so he may be able to hang in there. So it's weird how you're now starting to get bipartisan support, though, when these congressmen and congresswomen wind up with sexual scandals or anything else, and then they get an expulsion. They're starting to bond together because it's just basically corrupting the faith with the American people in their congressional delegations and their, be it the Congress altogether as a unit of the Senate and the House of Representatives, or whether it's the Senate and the House of Representatives individually. The American people are starting to get upset and say, where the hell is your dignity? Where's your ethics? Is it throwing it out with the baby bathwater? Both you people are getting, are getting ridiculous here as our representatives, and they're getting paid all this money, and they're just letting all this crap go to their head. That's why they're doing it. They know they can get away with it. You can't touch me. I'm a United States Senator. You can't touch me. I'm a U.S. Congressperson. You can't. So I can do whatever the hell I want, and that's how they feel. And until the press, whom Trump hates, finally blows the lid off stuff. So ethics inquiries is very important in this day and age, and we have to have it. So it's something like this really has to be done, and I'm glad they're doing it. And I think Corey Mills should go too, but I don't think it's going to happen. Along the same lines of all the buffoonish stuff that we have seen from the White House this past week, you have Donald Trump with the Jesus moment, come to Jesus moment, and then you have him with the DoorDash moment that backfired. Well, how about Pete Hegseth? Macho Man Pete Hegseth. So, and again, this is where I'm kind of getting ready to wrap up this podcast, is talking about how both Trump and Pete Hegseth like to use religion to justify, us being in Iran and having the military blow up stuff, and then they get mad at the Pope because Pope says Jesus promoted peace, not, killing everybody. So Pete Hegseth meant to invoke a holy scripture in discussing the rescue mission of an American fighter pilot stranded in Iran. He had a press conference. Before that press conference, he had a prayer vigil with his group. And he actually, though, when he was doing this prayer, quoted Quentin Tarantino. In a prayer delivered by Hegseth during a Pentagon worship service on this past Wednesday, he read a fake Bible verse from Tarantino's 1994 Pulp Fiction, and it was the altered version of Ezekiel 25, verse 17, that is righteously delivered by Samuel L. Jackson's character in the movie just before he shoots a man to death. Hegseth told the assemblage that the prayer was recited by the Sandy One Combat Search and Rescue CSAR mission in Iran. They called it the CSAR 2517, which I think is meant to reflect Ezekiel 25:17, the secretary said. The verse, by the way, does not exist, and he was calling everyone to pray with him. Then Hegseth read this via his little teleprompter. The path of the down aviator is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of the evil men. Blessed is he who in the name of camaraderie and duty shepherds the lost through the valley of the darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with greater vengeance and furious anger with who attempt to capture and destroy my brother. And you will know my call sign is Sandy One, which I lay my vengeance upon thee. Amen. Now, what Hegseth read was nearly word for word from the line delivered by Jules Winfield. That was Jackson's hitman in Pulp Fiction, and the character he played. The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who, in the name of charity and goodwill, shepherds the weak through the valley of the darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord, and when I lay my vengeance upon thee. And so... Now, when the press tried to corner Pete Hegseth and all this, he said, well, my staff writers wrote this, and I didn't have time to really, fast check everything. I'm a busy man, but I still stand behind that scripture, and it means what for my brave men and women in the service out there fighting and for that rescue mission of that downed aircraft. And the airmen that we have recovered, this is a perfect verse. So he stands by it, and he blames his staff writer. He doesn't have time to fact check, and I'm a busy person. Just like Donald Trump, he likes to shoot his mouth off, and he'll say things very quickly on his Truth Social before he knows all the facts. And he gets all excited, and sometimes he forgets things, like calling the Strait of Hormuz the Strait of Iran. But that's okay. What are you going to do? He's a busy man too, right? Right. So, as I wrap up this particular podcast, and I'm speaking of supporting or not supporting Israel, I want to take a moment to take a deep dive as to the modern-day Israel under Bibi, how the Bible and Christians particularly look at Israel. Now, I'm being very tactful here. The reason I'm bringing all this up is just what you just saw there, the scriptures from Pete Hegseth. And the present administration loves to talk a lot about religion, but you try to corner them on Bible verses or why they're saying what they're saying. They can't answer that for you. Pete Hegseth, quoted a Bible verse that was supposed to be in Ezekiel, which doesn't exist. And Trump says, well, I have a right to say what I want to say. And if you remember some months ago, he was being interviewed. He kept sort of saying, I'm a Christian, I believe in Jesus, and he's the first guy that'll put something out on Truth Social, though, with F-bombs all over the place and calling people bastards, and but I'm a Christian. And he has these Bible meetings and prayer breakfasts, and he talks 30 seconds about Christianity, and then spends another 2 hours talking about how great he is and all the wonderful things he's done. And he has all these evangelical high-profile people just shower him with love and, practically call him the recreation of the Son of God. And so the reason I'm bringing this all up is because the Bible does not explicitly mention the modern state of Israel. Therefore, interpretations of whether the support is required very significantly is based on how one interprets the relationship between the Old and the New covenants and prophecy. Now, what I'm getting to here is why some people are beginning to not support Israel anymore. I'm talking about the modern day Israel. I'm not talking about the spirituality and the relationship between Abraham, the Jews, and Israel as it is described in the Old Testament. I'm talking about the modern day Israel and Netanyahu, who loves to go to war just like Trump over everybody and everything. And, you get into when people talk about that, well, we have to support Israel. Israel is the Holy Land, They forget that Jesus Christ was a Palestinian. They forget, him as a Jew versus Abram and the Jews who were led into Israel. And of course, the Old Testament, God called it, the Holy Land. So please understand how Israel was as described in the Old Testament, and how Israel, as it is today, as a modern entity created in 1948, and the person who presently is running Israel, who isn't even from Israel, and how he has become a very aggressive warmongering person who likes to bomb everything and anything in the name of Israel. So let's talk about that for just a second. Use some critical thinking skills. Don't get all pissed off. Listen to what I have to say, and then I want you to think about it, okay? So, and again, keep in mind, I'm talking about modern Israel versus how Israel was as it was in the Old Testament, and how Abraham and the Jews that followed him into Israel, and how Israel been creating since 1948, and how the country has progressed since then. Again, people try to lump Christianity and religion and the Old Testament into what we're seeing happening today. And why some people, in fact, not some people, a lot of people, they still love, the Israelis and them as a people. They still love the Jews who are their spirituality and the connection, but they don't like what Benjamin Netanyahu as a prime minister is doing, okay? So you got to take out politics and then think about the Old Testament and the Bible. And I'm going to give you some scriptures that Jesus said that will get you thinking a little bit, all right? So here we go. Now, most Christians go off Genesis 12:3 of the Old Testament to justify why things are happening the way they are. And that is when God promises Abraham, I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse, and all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. All right? So thus the descendants of Abraham, or Abram, as he was then known as, is Israel as set by the boundaries. Now that was old Israel, not today's modern Israel. Think about that. That was old Israel and not the Israel that was created in 1948, all right? Now, we support the church and the spiritual descendants. We must look at Israel like any other nation. Remember, Jesus Christ was a Palestinian Jew, all right? So think about that for just a second, what I just said. So when you look clear back to the first book of the Bible in Genesis, people take that quote and then say, well, that's why we go to war, and God told us to go to war, and you have to do that, and so that gives us the right to battle, all right, and that's how some Christians are interpreted that, all right. God's chosen people, get it? But that does not give the prime minister, though, the right to go after whomever he chooses in the name of God and Abraham. So Benjamin Netanyahu thinks, I'm acting on behalf of Abraham and in the name of God, and that's why I have the right to go after, Lebanon and Iran and anybody else that gets in my way. And if the United States doesn't help me, they're wrong too. But you don't understand that Israel has bought and paid for almost every 98% of our congressional staff, both Senate and the House of Representatives, through their PAC, okay, IPAC. And the minimum amount that has been cash has gone into these people's pockets has been $10,000 all the way up to millions of dollars to buy their votes to support Israel. That's why they're so they'll come out and tell you, the American public, well, it's the Christian thing to do in the name of God and Abraham and blah, blah. But look at their bank. It's all public records. I'm not making this crap up, ladies and gentlemen. You can go. Israel's very proud to put their website up, IPAC, and the records are right there. How many thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars they have donated through their PAC and put into our congressional staff's pockets. Now, not everybody's accepted money, but not 98% of them have. So they will vote, to support Israel. So when this War Powers Act thing comes up, and I mean, if it doesn't stop over this weekend, you wait and see, because Trump wants another trillion, I don't know how many trillions of dollars to keep the Department of Defense or Department of War, whatever you want to call it, going, and because they refuse to tell you right now how many billions of dollars this war has cost even so far. Congress has tried to ask him that, and the guy won't give him an answer. All right, because they say it's classified. But, more money has been spent than you think of. So, again, think about old Israel versus the modern Israel here, all right? So, let's move on. Now, Galatians 6:16 states that the Israel of God, a church believes in Jesus rather than a geographical nation. Once again, Galatians 6:16 states, the Israel of God is a church that believes in Jesus rather than a geographical nation, all right? Perhaps we focus on peas and pods for both Israelis and Palestinians and leave politics out of it, all right? And when I say peas and pods, I'm talking about apples and oranges. You can use whatever word that you want, but you're trying to think about modern Israel versus old Israel. And you've got to think about the Palestinian and the Israelis, all right, as people, not as politics. That's basically the bottom line, and if you want to go back and read it again. So the support of Israel by Christians and Jews is one thing, but remember, one is not obligated to support every political and military action taken by its government. Just because it's Israel, just because we are the U.S., there are people here that do not support military action. There are Israelis who don't support military action. Obviously, the Palestinians don't support military actions. And that's why here in the United States, you're getting a lot of people who don't support what Donald Trump did going to war against Iran. Now, Jesus stated in Matthew 26:52 that those who draw the sword will die by the sword. Heard that? Did you hear that? Jesus stated in Matthew 26:52, in the first book of the New Testament, those who draw the sword will die by the sword. Matthew 5:44 states, love your enemies and the blessed are the peacemakers. That's what Pope Leo was just saying. He quoted that exact verse. Blessed are the peacemakers. Not blessed are those who create war. Blessed are those of the peacemakers. Is Pope Leo wrong? Is the Catholic Church wrong? Anybody, even Christians can quote that particular scripture, and they'll interpret it however they want to interpret it. Now, Matthew is full of verses, all right? Jesus Christ, God's only Son. Remember Jesus himself. He died on the cross for our sins. He was a Son of God. Even Jews, almost all Christians understand that, all right? There will always be war and rumors of war. Matthew 24. Read the entire book of the New Testament. It will give you a new perspective on the current modern-day Israel and its prime minister. So, just think about that. When you start, I'm not saying that you need to, politics is what's dividing this entire country right now. It's dividing the entire world. Trump hates NATO. He doesn't want the North Atlantic Treaty Organization to exist anymore. He wants his new $1 billion fundraised family-tied organization to be the ruler of the world as far as how NATO used to act, that he wants people to buy into his new little organization, which, of course, he is going to be the chairman of. He wants to build the big, beautiful arch that's going to cost billions of dollars over the Potomac and by Arlington National Cemetery. That's going to be 250 feet tall and have his name and his memory on it. He brings down those big banners with his face on it in front of the Department of War and the Capitol building, and Adolf Hitler had this big dream of this big glorious city that he was going to have, if you remember, okay? And I'm not comparing, Trump with Hitler. I'm just saying the similarities of the grandeur of stuff, and before Hitler started losing his mind and things that happened in the bunker, but you gotta focus, folks. Use critical thinking skills, all right? You can love the country of Israel as it was meant in the Old Testament and still not endorse how modern Israel and its prime minister is, wants to go to war with everybody, like how our country right now wants to do. As I wrap up this podcast, and it was also in the news, now that we're done with Iran, Trump wants to send perhaps military action, be it covert or physical stuff, into Cuba now. Now that we've taken care of Venezuela and we've got Iran out of the way, let's go to Cuba and clean that up too while we're at it. All right. And remember, Cuba is just 90 miles off of our most southern shore off Florida here. All right. Now, will that make the Cubans happy? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Will it make Mark Rubio happy, who's a Cuban? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know, probably would. But he has his sights now set on Cuba next. So, and as you know, Russia has vested strong interest in Cuba. We can go all the way back to 1964 during the Cuban Missile Crisis when Khrushchev was putting missiles into Cuba to keep an eye on the United States. And, of course, they backed off at the very end. We almost went into World War III right there. And it would have been a nuclear war. But at the very last hour, Khrushchev blinked. So, but we don't want to have that happen today. So, as you can see on this podcast, I'm just trying to use critical thinking skills. All right? I'm trying to get you, the people, to use critical thinking skills and stop and think about things. All right? You just don't have to be a sheep follower. And if you want to be a sheep follower, that's fine. That is your absolute right to do so. Just like I was a Republican for 52 years, and then I started thinking about things, and I'm not alone. There's been other two that Republicans have switched parties or became independents because they just don't like the way things are going right now, and because bullies don't always win. All right. So anyway, thanks for your attention, and thanks for enjoying me and joining me here on The Right is Left. Until next week, you try to have a good week. Take care.